Alright, so for this video I wanted to cover the IRS Form 8948. And the 8948 is a form that must be submitted if you paper file a return as a paid preparer. The form itself is pretty straightforward. It just has some excuses on it that says, look, I'm paper filing the return for X reason, Y reason, whatever. The most common one is maybe the taxpayer requested to paper file the return. But there's a lot of confusion about who needs to do this, right? So the first thing here is this form is only required if you're a specified tax return preparer. And that threshold is generally someone who gets paid, right, compensation to prepare a tax return and expects to file more than 11 a year. So if you are preparing your own return and paper filing, you do not need to attach this. Okay, so if you're preparing your own federal return, you print it, sign it, mail it to the IRS, don't complete 8948. Individuals are always allowed to download the forms from the IRS website, fill them out, print it out, sign it, mail it to the IRS, whatever the appropriate address is given on where you're a resident, and the IRS is going to process it. This exception is only for taxpayers that hired a pay preparer to do the return, and the pay preparer is generally under the obligation to electronically file, and for some reason it needs to be paper filed instead. Now, so what's recommended, right? Well, although an individual here that self-prepares their own return can paper file, we always recommend electronic filing. It's just e-filing is faster, it's more reliable, it's more accurate. You receive an e-file confirmation from the IRS, which provides you assurance that they accepted it and they processed the filing. So again, even if you're preparing your own return, there's a lot of online providers, things like TurboTax, H&R Block. There's a lot of platforms out there that will allow you to prepare the forms electronically and submit it. We always recommend doing that anyway. So why does this 8948 exist? Well, because it's trying to encourage electronic filing, right? The IRS only wants to accept paper file returns from a preparer unless there's some real concrete reason why they couldn't e-file the return. Okay? And then secondly, improved accuracy is obviously a big one. Electronically filed returns are just less susceptible to errors, recording errors, things like that. So paper file returns got to be opened by somebody. A human being actually has to review the pages, key the data into the system. So there's a lot that could go wrong during that process. And then lastly, just flat out, IRS has limited resources, right? The more paper that is mailed to the IRS and has to be reviewed in that fashion, the more human capital and resources that are constrained, rather than having them do, other tasks that are perhaps, a little more meaningful than just opening mail and keying data in from a return into their system. So, 8948, the message here is, if you're preparing your own return, don't do this, right? You don't need to fill out this 8948 when you mail it to the IRS, but I definitely recommend electronically filing the return even if you are preparing it by yourself. So I hope that was helpful, clarified, when this thing would be required. If you have any questions, leave me a comment below, and happy to answer any I can. Thank you.